We are recording it, so the people that can't attend live, they will be able, the recording will be shared with them afterwards. So we just want to ask before we start that you guys please remain muted so that Dave can talk, and we will run run through some of the questions that you guys asked in the Discord channel as well. And yeah, if any more questions come up while we're busy over here, feel free to drop them in that channel. And if there's time at the end, we can run through some of those as well. So yeah, I think Dave, you can get started.
Cool. Did you want to start with some of the questions you got from Discord? Do you want me to do a quick intro? What would you?
Yeah, I think you can start with a quick intro and maybe just go over a bit of the why this rule was introduced and what we have planned to make this a bit more palatable for everyone moving forward with the time that we are looking to give them before.
Well, first of all, Joe, thanks for it was obviously it was your idea to do this. It was a really good one, so thanks for putting this together. Dave Guttman, I'm the CEO at TopTier Trader. I've been CEO now for about 10 months. I've been a serial entrepreneur since the mid 90s, dating myself a little bit. We've gotten some pushback on some of the changes we've made to our trading rules. And so, when Joe and I were talking about it, I'm like, you know what? You're right. Let's do an Ask Me Anything. Let's make sure we get everybody's questions answered. Because at the end of the day, I think really a lot of people don't really understand the industry fully and kind of what some of the mechanics are that drive the way things have been playing out here over the last 8 or 10 months or so. So I know one of the questions we had gotten, which is when people violate the risk policy, why aren't they made aware of it right away? That the people feel like they're being kept in the dark until they request their payout. And first of all, let me say I couldn't agree more. Part of the challenge is, and this is true, this isn't just top tier, this is the entire industry, is people don't really understand that all the prop technology that all the prop firms use, most of it came from CRMs that were built for brokers, and then they bastardized those platforms, and that's what the prop tech is that all the prop firms are on. So it wasn't built exactly for the use case that it's being used for, and because what should happen is, let's use an example of I trade on news, but I don't have the news option. I haven't bought an account that allows me to trade on news. The way it should work is it should allow me to make that trade, and it should tell me why I wasn't allowed to make that trade. So that's how it should be. It should be in real time. The next best thing would be if you couldn't do it in real time, maybe after the trade is closed or within an hour or maybe the next day, if you've done something that's violated one of the rules, you're told, immediately or pretty close to that, as close as possible, but certainly within the phase that you're in. So if you're in phase 1 and you violate a rule, you shouldn't find out in phase 2. You shouldn't find out when you're funded, and you shouldn't find out when you're requesting a payout. So I am in violent agreement. The problem is all prop firms do it that way because that's how the tech has been built. So part of the commitment I've made, in our organization, and I'm making to everyone here now, is that's what we are maniacally focused on, is making improvements to the technology to allow us to give, whenever possible, real-time feedback to our traders. And when we can't do real-time feedback, trying to do the next best thing. So the step we're taking in that direction, right now, in order to basically, it's a fairly manual process to be able to review all the trading rules and apply them to all the accounts. So because it's a fairly manual process, not just us, but prop firms in general, wait until people make the payout request, and then they apply the rules, which is completely understandably a very frustrating experience. So what we're going to do, and we're going to have this across the finish line within a month, hopefully much sooner, because we're in the process of automating most of the rule applications, which will allow us to, in the actual phase, if there's any rule that's been violated, you'll be notified within that phase. So, but it's a problem that's because of the technology that the space is built on, not not because it's something that we're doing specifically. So, but within the month, we're going to basically make it so that if you violate a rule in phase one, you're going to find out in phase one. If you violate a rule in phase two, you're going to find out in phase two, so on and so forth. So, but it's understandable why it's so frustrating.
Yeah, I think I think maybe what you can also mention is that I'll just mention it. We are going, if we ever do, so I'm just still letting people in through the waiting room. If we ever do update the risk policy again, we are going to be giving you a month notice before the time.
Yeah, let me jump in there, Joe. So and I think I did an earlier video that we put out where I basically said, look, we don't always get it right, but the commitment I've made to our customers is when we don't get it right, we'll acknowledge the fact that we didn't get it right, and we'll do everything we can to make it right. So let me just take a step back for a second before I talk about the change in the rule policy and help people understand kind of how the mechanics of the industry work broadly. 90 to 95% of people that purchase a challenge are not going to get to a payout. And that 5 to 10% that do get to a payout, they're basically paid by the 90 to 95% of the people that fail the payout, that fail the challenge. And that covers the payouts for all the successful traders, and it also covers our overhead and our profitability. And that's actually a healthy business when the business is run professionally and responsibly. Because payouts vary, right? Some months you're going to have payouts that are much higher than other months. And so long as the business is being run properly, that's a healthy business. But the base concept of the business is that we're doing two things. One, we're helping educate people how to become good, consistent traders, and we're trying to do it in a way that simulates real market conditions. Because ultimately, the goal is for many people to eventually, be successful enough and be able to fund their own accounts and trade with their own funds. So you don't want to learn how to trade, and then when you're actually trading with your own money, not being able to be successful. So our responsibility is to help teach people how to trade responsibly. I think people are, and the other thing that's interesting is, while it's true that there's a high fail rate, the reality is most of the people that stick with it for 6 months or longer, more than half of those people are successful and get to a payout. The challenge is most people give up, like most things, right? Whether it's diet or exercise, whatever it might be, people throw in the towel, and so they don't get to the finish line. But so what the mistake we made was we did change the policy and we didn't give people enough notification. So the commitment, again, I'm making here is we will always give people at least a month's notice that if we're ever going to make any change in policy, we're going to remind people throughout that month. And we're only going to make changes effectively on the first of any given month and never before that. So that way everyone knows what's coming. But more specifically, I think people think that prop firms, again, when they're run properly, are trying to work against the interest of their traders, against their customers. And there's nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, you've seen so many examples of that recently in our industry where companies have failed. And the reason they failed is because they haven't done right by their customers. So that's the surest way to go out of business, is to not treat your customers fairly. The way to grow your business is to treat your customers fairly, educate them, teach them how to be successful traders. The more successful traders we have, the more people we're paying out, the more customers we're going to attract to our ecosystem, and the more we're going to grow. So, people can say, trust me, but it's always better to say, well, gee, what's in TopTier's best interest as an organization? Because that's what companies do. They do what's in their best interest. What's in our best interest is making sure that our customers are treated fairly and that they can be as successful as possible. The more people that are successful, the more people we can highlight. In fact, we do trader interviews every single week. You guys have probably seen a lot of that content out on Instagram and a lot of our other social channels. So we're trying to highlight our successful traders. We can only do that if we have them. So the goal is not to punish people. It's to make sure that people understand the trading rules and learn to be a good, consistent, disciplined trader.
Okay. Okay. So thank you. Should we continue into some of the questions that that was asked in this corner? Okay. So I think the first one you did cover, where you spoke about that we will try and get to as close to as in real time to communicate that there was a violation with one of these rules. So the next question is, why is the risk policy so different from any other firm in this industry? if you state you want to be the most trusted firm in the industry?
Yeah, so I actually don't think that we are. I think that there's a whole continuum of folks, right? So, in fact, the only firm, I don't know that, I know some people realize this, but I know most don't, and certainly all don't, that um, with one exception that I can think of, Funded Pro that backs 100% of their traders, all of the other firms, there's no A book and B book. There is simply, you're trading with virtual capital, right? Now we're paying you out with real money, but they're all virtual trading, and you're in a simulated trading environment to learn how to trade. It's an education platform. And so I would actually argue the opposite, that if you see a prop firm that has super relaxed rules, you should run for the hills. Because think about it logically, right? If the rules are super easy to get a payout, eventually, so you're going to attract a bunch of customers, you're going to get in a bunch of money, but then you're going to have a bunch of payouts, and you're going to be out of business. And again, we've seen plenty of examples of that in near real time. I know there was a CEO of one of the reasonably well-known companies in the space that's guaranteeing they will never deny a payout. If I were you, I'd run for the hills. That's kind of a ridiculous statement, because you can't possibly be doing that and be doing your job, which is to help educate people how to be good traders. That you're never going to guarantee a payout. The reality is, and I was on a Twitter space last Saturday, a significant percentage of the payouts in our industry, unfortunately, are to people that are cheating. They've got challenges at multiple firms, and they're hedging against each other. Like there's a lot of collusion and cheating that goes on. And again, that's not the business we're in. The business we're in is rewarding the traders that learn how to be consistent, disciplined traders that have learned using our platform, and to pay them out accordingly.
Okay. Okay. So let's move on to the next question. The next one was, why change the risk policy after a new customer or trader has purchased an account without offering them a refund? So I think some people were a little frustrated that they just purchased an account, and then the next day or within the next few days, the risk policy was updated, and maybe they are a bit frustrated with this is not what they bought.
Yeah, look, that's a fair frustration. And again, I'll take responsibility for that. What I would say, if anyone really well, let me take a step back. This last change to the risk policy was interesting, the response that we had gotten, because I would say 95% of what we did in updating our risk policy, our trading policies, really was around giving examples. And the reason we did that was we had gotten feedback that we weren't being clear enough about why people were, what constituted a violation. And so we said, okay, let's give people really concrete examples so that they know exactly what we're talking about, and they can understand why we're doing it that way. The only actual change we made to the policy was making it that for certain instruments, you could only gamble, risk to 12.5% instead of 25% for a given transaction. Which, by the way, you would never do that in a real account. So the change of the rule that we made was a completely reasonable one. Again, my bad. We should have given people more notification. But if someone really, feels that strongly about it, email me directly at dave@toptiertrader.com, and I'll get you a refund. Because the criticism that's fair is that if someone really was going to be the thing that was going to make someone's decision, then I'm happy to refund their money. Oh, look, I just got 875 emails. No, just kidding.
Wow. Okay, the next one is, in full transparency, can you please explain how TopTier gets the funds to pay out customers? It's hard to believe that it's strictly from failed challenges, as TopTier wouldn't have been around that long to create that much equity to pay out.
Look, we've been around for 2.5 years now, and I look at the data every single day, and it's just not the case. The reality is that that 5 to 10% that are getting payouts are paid by that 90 to 95% that fail their challenges. It's simple as that. And there's, like I said, you have a good business if those are the ratios. If if you had 75% of people that were getting to a payout, you'd have a problem, right? But that's just not the case. And again, the reason that's true is not because of the rules. It's true because most people don't stick with it long enough to get good.
Okay. So the next one was specifically about impulsive trading decisions. And the question is, how can you know when traders make impulsive trading decisions without conducting thorough research or analysis, relying solely on speculative news or rumor without evidence? So I'm guessing, more specifically, they are asking, how do we know, or how can we be sure that what we are seeing is a impulsive trading decision instead of what might be in their plan or the way they actually trade?
Yeah, so I think we had two questions that were like this. There was this one, and there was another one about over reliance on luck. And the way I'll answer that question is these rules are not there to be like, oh, we want to blow this person's account, but we don't have a good reason. So here's our loophole excuse to do it. That's bad business. Like, and again, you've seen firms that were doing really well that then changed their rules because they were trying to reduce payouts. All those businesses went away. So if unless you're an idiot, to basically put rules in place to basically screw over your customers, that's not a sustainable business model, and you'd be a fool to do that, and I'm not a fool. So the reason we do it, and quite frankly, it's generally relatively obvious. Oh, this person's trading high leverage, different all the different instruments and they just got one lucky trade, right? It's fairly obvious when people have when it's purely they're swinging for the fences. It's not, they're not based on any so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to teach people consistency, discipline, and again, and actually I should mention, one of the things we're making a big investment in right now is TopTier Academy. So we're basically creating our own education system where we're going to teach people from people who can't even spell pip all the way, to actually, once you've finished the TopTier Academy, all graduates will get a free challenge. So not only are we going to educate people, but then we're going to give them a chance to practice totally on our dime, because we really think that by making that investment and bringing more people into the ecosystem, that we'll ultimately succeed more as an organization. So, that's the position we've taken, is we're trying to educate people, train people to do well, and the better they do, the better we'll do.
Mm. Okay, I think you answered the next one, which was already about the over reliance on luck. And the next one after that is, how can you know when a trader enters without a well-defined trading plan or strategy? And I think similar answer.
Yeah, so exactly. It's the same kind of thing, right? So I would say all the things around, luck and trading plan and impulsive decision making, it's all around the same thing, which is, the when you look at the actual trade history from a trader, it's very obvious, who's working with some kind of system, which is not to say that someone doesn't make an impulsive trade and blow their account. It happens all the time, unfortunately, right? So, but someone's making, you can tell when you're looking at the trade data who's doing it with a plan and who's just, like I said, they don't know what they're doing. They haven't put in the time, and they're swinging for the fences.
Okay, so the next one is about the rapid acquisition of multiple accounts. So they're asking, if you don't encourage any successful traders to do multiple evaluation accounts in a short time frame, why don't you restrict a trader to do evaluation account per certain period, such as new account per month or biweekly?
So there are valid reasons for having multiple accounts, and that part we encourage, right? Which is, if I'm in a funded account now, and look, I know no matter how good of a trader I am, I'm funded, I'm getting payouts, but hey, sometimes luck goes against you, right? And your account gets blown. Having additional accounts at different phases makes all the sense in the world, so that you don't have too long of a lag between when you had a funded account that you were getting payouts on and having to go all the way back to phase one and start all over. So having multiple accounts at various stages makes all the sense in the world, and we encourage that. We think that's actually a smart, disciplined plan to do it that way. But there are other reasons for doing it that are more nefarious, and that's really all we're trying to protect against. So when someone's buying, I mean, we have people do it. It doesn't make any sense. It'd be easier to do where you basically bought an account with us, an account with a competitor, and you hedge against each other on the two. But some people do it within the same prop firm. And when people do that, you're not allowed to do that. It's like you can't go into the casino and bet red and black. Well, I guess you could, but it's not a great strategy.
Okay, and the next one I think ties into that, which is about deliberate failure of some accounts. So a trader, so you just talked about the hedging where some accounts might be failed on purpose so that another one could pass, which is obviously a violation. But this guy's asking, trader wants to trade as a scalp trader on a valuation count A and trade a swing trader on a valuation count B. He failed the one and passed the other. Is that okay to do? So in essence, I think he's asking that he is trading two different strategies on two different accounts.
That's
But
actually that's really smart, especially as someone who's maybe a new trader who's trying to figure out their trading style, right? So that's actually the kind of thing that we're going to teach in Top Tier Academy and that we encourage. But to your earlier comment, what we don't allow is what I was saying before is hedging accounts against each other. That's not allowed. So yeah, so if people who are new traders and they're really trying to find out their style, having multiple accounts and testing out different strategies, you'll actually accelerate your learning and figure out faster what the optimal trading style is for you. And so that makes all the sense in the world, and we would encourage that.
yeah, okay. So the last question I have here from there was, how can you know when traders strategically allow certain accounts to fail while focusing efforts on completing another? I don't personally know if there's any other way we look at it instead of them hedging the two accounts against each other.
I don't think so. I don't think that we're doing that for any other way except when we see them hedging against each other. And I'd have to talk to our head of risk and compliance to get into the details on that. But I think if you dig into the examples we have in the FAQs, oh, actually, I should mention one other thing too. We also got feedback that the rules were a little bit hard to find. So when you're logged into the trading dashboard, we actually added a new button on the left-hand side that says trading rules. You just click on that and you'll actually be able to see all the trading rules. When you go down to the trading rule, there's also a little section where you click on it, you get more information, and it'll give you detailed examples about exactly what we don't allow and why.
Okay, I don't see any other questions or new questions in the Discord channel.
So let me just say one thing sort of in terms of wrapping it up. I just want to kind of reinforce for everybody that there's been so much noise and fallout in our industry over the last 9 or 10 months. I mean, honestly, it's very rare that you see this much turbulence in an industry this quickly, and so we're trying to be as vigilant as we possibly can be, taking feedback from the community. That's why we're doing this AMA today, and trying to get as transparent as we can possibly be without arming people that are, intentionally cheating the system with enough information to be able to game it, right? That's what we're trying to do. Because again, we want to reward, we don't want all the money, and payouts going to the people that aren't playing by the rules and are not actually trying to learn how to be good traders. We want to make sure that those payouts are going to the people that deserve them. And that's why the rules are in place. And ultimately, that's how we evaluate whether a rule, if we're going to make any kind of rule adjustment, what we do is we look at the payouts that we're making and we analyze all the trades related to those, and we simply are identifying, hey, would someone reasonably, in a real funded account in real trading conditions, trade this way, even anywhere close to this way? And if the answer is no, well, that's something we're likely to make into a formal rule. And again, the goal is not, nothing would make me happier than to have a well-run prop firm has a ton of payouts from their customers that are 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, $40,000. When you're seeing $200,000 and $300,000 payouts on $200,000 and $300,000 accounts, you're not doing that without, an enormous level of risk that you would never do in real trading situation. So, the companies that are basically making it out like, hey, look, come trade with our virtual funds and become a gazillionaire, over the weekend. Again, run for the hills for people like that. We're here to teach people how to trade. You absolutely can make a good amount of money, make a real living doing this, remote work anywhere in the world. But in order for companies like ours to be sustainable, they have to be based on a disciplined set of rules that allow consistent, disciplined traders to be successful and don't allow people that are simply, basically trying to gamble with our virtual capital to make money, the people that are trying to game the system.
Okay. Yeah, there's no, let me just check again one last time in the Discord. I passed my phase 2. I don't like giving info, but output, I will receive an email saying I violate terms. Will we have to verify? Okay, that's not really related to this, I don't think. Okay, so
Well, by the way, I saw a comment here. It says, sounds like the company is basically standing on the back of bad traders. I guess you can look at anything you want to through the most negative lens you can. But I think that the more fair-minded way to look at that is, like any business model, right? You have revenue, you have costs, and you have profit. And in our case, the revenues come from people purchasing challenges. If 100% of people were successful in getting payouts, no company would exist. It would be impossible. There'd be no way for anyone for any prop firm to exist, which means no one would be able to make any money from it. The only way anyone's going to be able to, because think about it, right? What we're providing is we're providing access to capital for people who cannot get it on their own. So the two things we provide is education and training and access to capital for people that don't have the resources of their own for either of those. So that's the business that we're in. And yeah, you can turn that around and be like, well, gee, the money from the failed challenges are the ones that pay for the ones that are successful. That's true. But that's the business model. And without that business model, there'd be no way to provide training and capital to people that otherwise wouldn't have access to it.
okay. I think that's it. Unless you have any closing statements, Dave, I think.
I don't think so. I just appreciate everybody. First of all, I want to tell everyone how much I appreciate getting the feedback, even when it's negative feedback, because that's the only way we can get better. A lot of the improvements we've made, since I've been here have come from feedback directly from our community. And Joe's done an amazing job of growing our Discord community. I think we're over 35,000 folks in our Discord community now. And I guess I would say that, again, given all the noise in the industry, as you think about who to trade with, obviously I'd love everybody to trade with us, though everyone unfortunately won't make that decision. But as you are evaluating people, whether it's us or somebody else, I really encourage you to go into the Discord community, listen to what their customers are saying about them, because what you want is you want a prop firm that's fair and even-handed with their customers, that's as transparent as they can possibly be, because ultimately that's the only way it's going to be a sustainable business. So I really appreciate everybody's feedback and their time.
Okay, awesome. Thanks everybody for coming and joining us. Like I mentioned before, the recording will be shared. We'll share it in Discord, and we're going to share it via email with you as well. If you have any other questions, we're always available in Discord to answer. We'll do it to the best we can. And yeah, thank you guys for coming out, and maybe we do this again sometime.
Thanks everybody.
Yeah. Cheers.